Analysts, bureaucrats and business leaders are taking stock of the full implications of President Uhuru Kenyatta's unprecedented move to open up borders to Africans. In his inauguration speech on Tuesday, the president also promised more goodies for citizens of the East African Community states: jobs, land and settlement. If implemented, the directive means that Africans wishing to visit Kenya will be eligible to receive a visa at the port of entry, unlike in the past when many had to go through a rigorous, often expensive process to secure a visa in Kenyan embassies abroad. Security. This move, however, has raised security concerns, with one expert warning that it will present a logistical nightmare because the security agencies will be required to mount more robust surveillance at all border points. It will also mean that the country will face a significant increase in the number of Africans seeking to enter, and this will severely test immigration services. While other countries such as Rwanda had already made this move, thereby making Kenya's decision not entirely groundbreaking, President Kenyatta's declaration that East Africans will be treated like Kenyans is still reverberating across the region. Analysts concurred that the move will have far-reaching ramifications on the socio-economic spheres, especially security, education, health, labor and cohesion. Like your Kenyan brothers and sisters, you will need only your identity card. You can now work, do business, own property, farm, and if you wish and find a willing partner, you can marry and settle in Kenya, President Kenyatta said. And this commitment we make with no conditions for reciprocity but driven by our desire for deeper regional integration. One security analyst, Mr. Simu Werunga, said that while the directive was a good political statement, it lacked the instruments to ensure that it does not hurt national security. Contraband. The directive has serious implications on national security, he said, pointing out that Kenya is not only surrounded by troubled states, but neighbors Somalia, a region known for active terrorism cells and the epicenter of contraband trading. Another expert, who requested not to be named because of the sensitivity of the subject, said that reciprocity is a key pillar in international relations. He asked, will Kenya, for instance, give the same treatment to citizens of countries whose governments mistreat Kenyans? However, the consensus among economists and governance analysts that the Saturday Nation spoke to was that immigration is good for the overall economy. The East African Trade Union Confederation, ETUC, welcomed the announcement, describing it as long overdue. Mr. Francis Atwoli, the Confederation's chairman, said the organization has for the last 15 years been pushing for the establishment of a borderless Africa. We urge the rest of the continent to take a cue from this bold move by President Kenyatta because this will ease movement of persons and promote fast economic growth in the region and on the African continent. Scholar. One scholar, Professor Odium Bonch, who teaches history at Mwa University, said the directive has the potential to make East Africa a better place socially, economically, politically and culturally. However, this will only work if the other leaders in the region reciprocate the move, he said. Time has come for African states to think critically about these border restrictions because they mean little for the well-being of the continent, he said. However, another analyst, Mr. Herman Manyara, called for high-level consultations before the directive is implemented. He said every ministry should brainstorm internally on the likely implications of the directive in each sector, including defense, health, education and transport. He predicted that Kenya's health sector will be strained by expected influx because it is more developed. EAC citizens could also be attracted to such social services as free maternity services in public hospitals if they will be accorded the same treatment as Kenyans. Kenya now also offers free and compulsory education up to secondary level, a policy which could create a logistical nightmare for teachers, education institutions and managers, were parents from neighboring countries to take advantage of Kenya's open border policy. The country will also have to grapple with an influx of unskilled labor which could cause social havoc besides triggering a national security headache, said Mr. Manyara. Immigration. However, the Director of Immigration, Major Gen. RTD, Gordon Kailangwa, said a lot of thought had gone into the directive at the point the President made it. However, we need to look at it closely and develop modalities of how it will work, he said. He said visitors will still be vetted to ensure only well-meaning people get into the country. President Kenyatta appears to have been cognizant of this challenge when he declared, "As I welcome you, I remind you that equally you shall be subject to the same rules and laws as your Kenyan brothers and sisters." Professor David Kikaya, the director of Research Institute for Peace, Policy, and International Affairs, welcomed the announcement but faulted the exemption of the reciprocity principle. "It's a forward-looking and progressive policy, but it should be made on reciprocity. This is imperative because we are dealing with very unpredictable neighbors," said the former international relations lecturer at the UZU Africa. In Africa, only 13 out of 55 countries have allowed liberal entry for citizens of other African countries, either visa-free or by issuing visas on arrival. Those that are currently visa-free for Africans include Rwanda, Benin, and Mauritius. Ghana also introduced a visa on arrival policy for citizens of African Union member states.